Before Sanford and Son ever reached American living rooms, the partnership between Red Fox and Demon Wilson began with skepticism rather than certainty. When Wilson was first asked if he would consider working with Foxx, his reaction was blunt disbelief. At the time, Foxx was known primarily for his raw stand-up albums, material many believed would never translate to network television. Wilson reportedly questioned whether broadcasters would ever take that risk, but a meeting was arranged anyway, not out of confidence but curiosity. What happened next surprised them both. The contrast between Fox's sharp comedic instincts and Wilson's grounded presence created something unexpected. It wasn't instant friendship, but there was creative electricity. That initial meeting laid the foundation for a partnership that would reshape television history, even if neither man could have predicted how complicated their relationship would eventually become. A sitcom that changed television. When Sanford and Son premiered on NBC in 1972, it wasn't just another comedy added to the schedule, it was a cultural shift. For the first time, mainstream television centered a black father-son relationship that balanced humor with emotional realism. Red Fox's Fred Sanford was loud, scheming, and endlessly theatrical, while Demon Wilson's Lamont was patient, thoughtful, and quietly principled. Their contrast gave the show its heartbeat. Audiences responded immediately. Ratings soared, and the series quickly became one of NBC's biggest hits. Millions tuned in weekly, not just for laughs, but for a dynamic that felt authentic. On screen, Fred and Lamont argued, clashed, and reconciled like real family. What viewers didn't see was that this chemistry required discipline and professionalism, especially as the pressures of success began to strain the relationship behind the scenes. Early respect and a mentor's support. In the beginning, the relationship between Foxx and Wilson was marked by mutual respect. Foxx, already a seasoned entertainer, recognized Wilson's potential and reportedly advocated for him during the show's early development. He pushed for better recognition, ensuring Wilson wasn't treated as a background presence, but as a true co-lead. For Wilson, this support mattered. He was younger, newer to television, and stepping into a demanding role opposite a legendary comedian. Their dynamic off-screen mirrored aspects of the show itself, an older figure guiding someone still finding his footing. While they were never inseparable friends, there was trust and professional appreciation. Those early seasons carried a sense of shared purpose, a feeling that they were building something meaningful together. Unfortunately, as the show's success grew, so did the pressures that would test that foundation. Success, pressure, and unspoken frustrations. By 1974, Sanford and Son was one of the highest-rated shows on television, and success brought scrutiny. Red Fox became increasingly vocal about feeling undervalued by the network, particularly when comparing his compensation and working conditions to those of white stars with similar ratings. His concerns went beyond money, touching on respect and recognition. For Fox, these issues symbolized larger industry inequalities he had faced throughout his career. When negotiations stalled, frustration boiled over. His decision to step away from the show during the third season shocked viewers and colleagues alike. For Demon Wilson, this moment was deeply complicated. He sympathized with Fox's grievances, but was also bound by contracts and career realities. The show continued without its central figure, placing Wilson in an uncomfortable spotlight he never sought. Carrying the show and carrying the weight. With Foxx absent, Demon Wilson suddenly became the emotional center of Sanford and Son. Publicly, he remained composed, expressing hope that his co-star would return. Professionally, he fulfilled his obligations, continuing to film and promote the series. Privately, the situation weighed heavily on him. Wilson had not anticipated being placed between loyalty and responsibility. While some expected him to halt production in solidarity, he chose stability over confrontation. That decision, while practical, altered how Fox viewed their relationship. What Wilson saw as honoring commitments, Fox perceived as distance. Neither perspective was entirely wrong, but neither was fully communicated. The absence of honest dialogue allowed resentment to grow quietly. Even after Fox returned with a renegotiated contract, something fundamental between the two men had shifted. After the return, a changed dynamic. When Red Fox returned to Sanford and Son, audiences celebrated. The network had addressed many of his demands, and the show regained its rhythm. On screen, Fred and Lamont felt familiar, their comedic timing intact. Off screen, however, the relationship was no longer the same. differences in pay, influence, and creative control became silent fault lines. Wilson remained under his original contract while Fox's new agreement reflected his increased leverage. For Wilson, the disparity was difficult to ignore, especially after carrying the show during its most uncertain period. Creative decisions increasingly flowed through Foxx, leaving Wilson feeling sidelined. Conversations became brief, interactions strictly professional. There were no public arguments, just growing distance. The warmth of earlier seasons faded, replaced by an unspoken understanding that their partnership now existed only for the camera. The end of a partnership. By the time Sanford & Son ended in 1977, the bond between its two leads had quietly dissolved. What once felt like a collaborative effort had become a transactional arrangement maintained through professionalism rather than affection. Cast and crew reportedly sensed the tension, often navigating the set carefully. Despite this, the show never lost its on-screen magic, a testament to both men's commitment to their craft. When the cameras stopped rolling for the final time, so did their relationship. There were no public reconciliations, no dramatic confrontations, just silence. Each man moved forward on separate paths. Foxx returned to stand-up and television projects, while Wilson began questioning his place in the entertainment industry. The end of the show marked not just the conclusion of a sitcom, but the quiet closing of a chapter neither man revisited publicly. Faith, distance, and different paths. After Sanford & Son, Demon Wilson gradually withdrew from Hollywood. Disillusioned by the environment and the emotional toll of the industry, he turned toward faith, eventually becoming an ordained minister. His focus shifted from performance to purpose, from applause to service. Wilson spoke openly about feeling spiritually empty during his years of fame, and described his departure from entertainment as necessary for personal survival. Redd Foxx, meanwhile, continued working, launching new shows and returning to his comedic roots. Their paths never crossed again. When Foxx passed away in 1991, Wilson did not attend the funeral. Years later, he acknowledged they were no longer speaking at the time of Fox's death, offering no further explanation. It wasn't bitterness he emphasized, but finality. Some relationships, he suggested, are not meant to be repaired. Legacy beyond the silence. The story of Redd Foxx and Demon Wilson is not one of villains and victims, but of two complex men shaped by pressure, pride, and circumstance. Together, they created something extraordinary, a show that broke barriers and still resonates decades later. Apart, they carried unresolved feelings that time never healed. Fans may always wonder what might have been had communication replaced silence. Yet their legacy does not rest on reconciliation, but on impact. Fred and Lamont Sanford remain iconic, symbols of humor, resilience, and family. Behind the scenes, the reality was more human, filled with misunderstandings and unspoken pain. Perhaps that is what makes the story endure. It reminds us that even the greatest partnerships are fragile, and that sometimes the most lasting stories are built not on perfect endings, but on honest, unfinished truths.